Peace and Black Power. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV House of Consciousness. I'm here today on the phone with my great and mighty warrior brother and master teacher in Washington, D.C., Brother Tehuti. I'm sure most of you have become well acquainted with this brother by now, and I wanted to call him to discuss the transcendence and the importance of the legacy of our great warrior queen mother, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And I have Brother Tehuti on the line. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Good afternoon, Baba. And I'd like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to share some thoughts on the life work of what was a great teacher, a great doctor, a psychiatrist, a psychoanalyst, professionally. What she did, she is the first person from her profession to look at the psychological mindset of a people bent on dominating the world because of the impact of having an inferior gene. Survival, which is almost the natural condition of mind of all living things, wants to survive. But in the mind of white people, as they've gone around the world interacting with other people, what they have found out is that anybody else that they mate with, the children, take on the primary attributes of non-white people. Therefore, in the long run, white folks could be annihilated just by interacting or intermarrying or with the people of color of the world. So, in defense of being annihilated, they've almost developed what is in their mindset a natural mental condition of survival, of imposing themselves, their will, their culture, their analysis, their history on the non-peoples of the world, of the non-white peoples of the world, in order to dominate them, and to have non-white peoples basically bow down and absorb their culture as what I would say is the world standard. What do I mean by that? When I look at the international meeting of the world leaders, most of them all gather in the European suit. That is the standard of dress of the ruling class. There are oftentimes delegates from some countries who will wear their cultural wear. But without a doubt, you can physically see that most of these world leaders have adopted the Eurocentric form of dress as the global standard. What else do I mean? When in her analysis, Dr. Welsing points out, I remember one of the examples she used from a modern situation. So it's called the Stockholm effect, the attributes and took the side of the hostage holders, the robbers themselves. And they were analyzing, saying that's kind of a syndrome that when somebody is put in a subordinate position and over time develop the attitude that the people who put them in a subordinate position stands in relationship to them someone that they should imitate or emulate in life. So when you look at what happened to our ancestors brought into captivity here in the West under the English, after all of these years, the standard that most Africans born in America have adopted is imitating white culture, what they call American culture. The American is what's primary in their mind. Those of us in what we call the nationalist community, we are considered the fringe of the majority whose mental outlook is integration/assimilation. After an example of that, the attempt to try to create a holiday around African culture to wean the African American off of the Eurocentric Christmas holiday, Kwanzaa was developed. And Kwanzaa is less popular today than it was 20 years ago and 40 years ago. Why? Because the mind training devices that impact the minds of most of our people is still controlled by a ruling class who have found a way of capitalizing, making big profits off of the holiday. Our people don't feel a sense of Africanness. They feel a sense of Europeanness or European/Americanness between, in December. So they celebrate Christmas. All are signs of an inferiority complex. And this inferiority complex is almost naturally trained or conditioned into the minds of people who keep themselves in a subordinate position to another population. The attempt to maintain that relationship in this society is driven by white supremacy. And again, that's what Dr. Welsing really pointed out. Her allegories, the metaphors she used, those that, that we sometimes chuckle about. But her technique worked in terms of young black people, especially young black men, understand what she meant outside of the literal interpretation of what she said. As an example, talking about, white men in their game of hitting the little white ball. And it's because the success of the black man playing with the big brown basketball and football. In a classroom, that type of construct might appear to be unacceptable. But her audience was African Americans and young African Americans, to wake us up, to explain what is happening to us, why as a whole we are still subordinate in this society to the ruling white class. As such, though a lot of people try to ridicule her for her position on homosexuality. Again, at the time, she did her analysis and looked quite correctly at the appearance and growth of homosexuality in societies historically, not just now, but what's major impact in Roman society? When did it appear and began to make a major impact in British society? And at what social conditions are at play as it is appearing and making a major impact in American society? There's that old quote, there's no new thing under the sun. So this is not the first time or the first set of circumstances that she was analyzing and drawing a conclusion about. The bigger question is that after our lengthy tenure living here in different civilizations on this earth, why are there periods when that behavior is not tolerated? And why are there periods when that behavior is tolerated? So trying to frame this construct in terms of whether one is born with certain behavior traits or not, I think she tried to analyze the circumstances of its appearance and its impact when it does appear and grow. She was a scientist, a social and behavioral scientist. She wasn't attacking lifestyle choices. She was explaining them as such. So, like other great people, again, we here in the Washington, D.C. community, we have lost a great person, a person who was not distant from the mass of people when there are cultural meetings here in the District of Columbia, when organizations, bring people in and what have you. Frances was there in the audience. She came. She attended a lot of things. I last spoke with her, oddly enough, at the memorial service organized by Anthony Browder and Brother Coates from Black Classic Cress, Paul Coates. She came and gave her tribute to Doc Ben. And, during the program, we got a chance to talk. So we will miss her. She appeared on programs that I sponsored. She came and participated as a panelist. I appeared with her, in programs. I have a whole lot of respect for the work that she did. And though, I didn't, quote unquote, hang out in social circles with her, I still considered her a friend. And so we will surely miss her. However, because she was a writer and she took time to pen that very important book, the ISIS Papers, and because, again, of the new technology, especially folks who filmed her or made videos of her lectures, and now, posting them on YouTube, that the digital world will still have a chance to hear her lecture and hear her discussion, even question and answer periods, everything. I listened to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. It's like we lost Doc Ben. Like we've lost another giant in Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Again, who knows how long it will be before the energy develops within our people to raise up another mind, that will go to school instead of trying to get a profession or a job to make some money for themselves, but really go and use those skills to develop and analyze, what happened to us. I've heard one of the young brothers at one of the on Brother Sinetta TV, one of his programs, talking about slavery condition. We've talked about it in general kind of terms, but we need young students as they're developing their social science disciplines to seriously go back and start putting the data together over plantation behavior to maintain a person in a state of slavery and the impact of that once the condition on the plantation ends. After 1865, how did these millions of people come out of this mental condition? How did they absorb themselves and get themselves back up on their feet to try to make a way for themselves somewhere, somehow? The short 10-year period, 1865, 1875, what they call the Reconstruction era, there was a few things laid down to try to relieve some of that condition. But then the post-Reconstruction era, with the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and the straight psychological impact of white supremacy from the top down, aligning itself with the bottom dwellers of losers of the South who tried to instill a condition of virtual slavery by confining the brothers to a state of what they call it sharecropping and things of that nature. So though not being locked up on a plantation or restricted to just living on the plantation and getting whipped, they were huddled in communities of no little resources, right? And terrorized by frequent beatings and lynchings and what have you. And all of that activity left a psychological impact on the minds of the people who experienced it and in the minds of their children who they pass their reactions to those conditions on to. See, all of that is psychological. All of that creates what we call a disturbance in one's mind. And again, the study of mind, again, what Dr. Welsing was an expert in, she not only looking at the real cause of the impact of our condition, but understanding the real cause is white supremacy, the controlled white supremacy. By that process, you understand now how to properly heal when you know what's messing with you. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know why you act the way you act, I mean, it's like all of these soldiers coming back from these wars and have been determined to have post-traumatic stress disorder. See, like when you're living in a heightened state of existence, in living in battles and that kind of thing, when you leave that arena, your mind is never the same. And so many of these guys are coming back killing themselves and doing other kinds of things. And the government, through the VA, has finally understood and determined what is really bothering their veterans returning home, and are now beginning to treat it psychologically. I hope that people get a chance to, who of course probably won't get a chance to come to us, and rather for a memorial service, that there will be enough people who will record it. It will be recorded in such a way that the great broad number of people that she impacted by her work would get a chance to not just hear about her going home ceremony, but actually get a chance to witness it themselves.
If I just can add just a little bit to that, your main man, Brother Sarnetta, as you know, will be there recording it, and not to get off the subject of talking about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, but just, and you were talking about the importance of the technology and the media. Just talk a little bit about, because you always talk about Brother Sarnetta and what he has done. Talk a little bit about what Sarnetta has done and is doing.
Look, again, look, I will give what I call a commercial advertisement for Brother Sarnetta because of the work that he has done. I'm not a Johnny come lately or just jumping on the bandwagon brother. As I told people, as I watched the brother, back in the day when we had programs, remember with Steve Coakley and all of us at the programs, and then you come back and you buy the VHS tape. so that like the knowledge that was shared at the program, it would be, that you would have it yourself, not just something that you had heard. But this brother, starting off from reproducing and selling lectures of important information that was taking place inside the Black community. The scholars of the late 70s and early 80s, Asa Hilliard, Dr. Ben, Dr. Jeffries in that group, Phil Valentine, Queen of Four. It was, again, an explosion of regular people not working for the American corporations who had acquired knowledge and was sharing their knowledge in the community. And in addition to that, brothers were disillusioned with not being able to be absorbed into white America. And all of a sudden, again, the growth of different micro-nationalist groups, I call them. With all respect, I'm not demeaning them. But when I talk about the Moors, the Hebrews, the whatever, the Cometics, if you want to, we want to go there. But all of a sudden, we started exploring our history and looking at other ways of living our lives without being directed by the great system. We were unplugging ourselves from the matrix, if I could use that allegory. And again, during this period, you got this brother who understood the impact of that and made a business out of making sure that this information just didn't die at the time it happened. So he was selling his, tapes. As CDs came into effect, he converted the information from VHS tapes to CDs. DVD technology came in on board, and he converted this stuff from CDs to DVDs. And as the social media impact has come into existence, here's a brother that understood what was happening and began to convert his business to make it available worldwide through the internet, through Sarnetta TV. So here, right under our eyes, while we are all observing it the last 10 years, let's just put it in that short time frame, we have seen a young man who did not go to Wharton School of Business, Howard University School of Business, or anything of that nature, but has started an enterprise, information enterprise, using the technology that the young folks are using today. So I'm proud of the brother. I hope that and I know that he has only just begun, if I could use that phrase. As I was saying, they are still like now for the debates that he's sponsoring in New York. I remember one of the brothers years ago, who was sitting as the king of the hill in some respect, in terms of doing lectures, that belittled the brother. So man, sponsor all that stuff, all those debates, man, you ought to cut all that stuff out. Well, now, Sarnetta has blown up big, and this brother is now marginal. He didn't see the train that was coming to get on board. He tried to stop this brother in his track, and this brother didn't stop. He's gone on and blown up even bigger. than, like the last time I talked to him. Like, so I'm quite proud of the brother. And I hope that again, the audience will understand as this technology keeps developing, like through YouTube. I mean, you can sit in your living room and click a button, watch YouTube through the internet on your TV. You don't have to have a computer or a tablet or a cell phone, but you can also watch it on those mechanisms. When you hear about something, a great man, did you hear this brother put out this message? And man, can you send it to somebody? And right away they click on the the path, and they'll take them right to YouTube, and they can watch it right on the spot. And it's a business that's going to grow, and it's a business model that other young African American entrepreneurs need to look at. But utilizing to tell their story and to create their businesses. It's something that young Spanish-speaking immigrants that's in this country and growing need to look at. Instead of trying to be absorbed under the control of the white corporations, to create their own thing. It's a thing that the Native Americans, my Native brothers, need to look at. Adopting and utilizing more of this technology, create their own channel, and tell their story. Bury my hearted wounded knee. It's still a very powerful story, but there are 1,000 more wounded knee stories that have yet to be written or told. So, the people around the world that are rising up against the oppression of just one ruling class elite. Again, here's a technology that's at your hand that you can use to tell your stories, to understand how to get rid of this vicious economic system. So, so I'm quite proud of Sonetta. And as I said, if there was a way that we could do commercials, have people make statements, so it's played and played and played, I would be happy to do that. Not just that I'm raising him to such a high level, but because what he has done is very important, and it's easily observed, and if folks would think about it, it's easily used. Hey, instead of, in addition to the groups debating each other about what they think history was and those kinds of things, hey, they can teach their story better. They can put together, they can animate and do like PowerPoint presentations with music behind it or audio behind it and teach. Like the information tapes, like the way young black men learn math differently than other people. I remember there was a brother here in D.C., a Muslim brother, known all over the country, all over the world because of his genius in teaching mathematics to inner city kids. That can be replicated, and shown so that young brothers who just can't tolerate being in the classroom with a woman hollering at him trying to teach him, but he can sit down and pull up tapes of this nature and learn and study and be better able to utilize his thinking processes to draw better conclusions. It's a lot that can still be done with this. As I told you earlier, as yet, some of these nationalist-minded young men need to go and interview some of these people who are very, very, very successful in aspects like athletics or entertainment and ask them, well, hey, come on, man. Because you playing ball with us in the community, you learn some skills, right? And then, all right, so you get elevated up, you've gone out and you've made hundreds of millions of dollars. And I know that, you've given some charities and stuff because your agents and those other kind of people, they structure your money so that you're doing something. But, like, hey, is there anything else you can do? What can you do to structure us, to get us up on our feet so that we can move forward? What did you learn? Or was it just about you having, like a 80-pound gold chain around your neck with a great big jewel hanging from it? need all of those material things to give you status mentally because you're suffering from the impact of white supremacy. And so to try to be equal with the white supremacists, you have a lot of materialism to try to show you got stuff. Hey, sis, some teaching and a whole lot can be done. So I look forward to the future. Like Martin Luther King said, like in one of those famous statements, like as I look down there, I might not get there with you, but I know the genius of black folk. I know the genius of young black folk, especially before they are socialized, before they get put in the straitjackets of being made African Americans. Like every dance that is enjoyed out there on the dance floor that's called American. Actually, I love this little things of how we interact with music, our movement that were created by our genius. LeBron James didn't go to school to learn those moves, nor did Dr. J, like anybody else, nor did Michael Jordan. That's not taught in a university. The genius of movement and being good at it is something that's natural to our genes. And that's why all that creativity with playing with a ball comes out of us. It didn't come out of these other people. That's the same thing with music. Every other generation or so, the youth on their own create a new form of the music. And I've gone back and talked about, like from the old ragtime to, which was the music at the turn of the 1900s. But as the brothers came back from World War I, and the society began to change, it was the young artists playing music that's really created jazz. And after 20 years or so of that, from the 1920s to the 40s, another young group of musicians come along, like a Dizzy Gillespie and a Miles Davis, and these cats were, were young, and they created a new form of jazz called bebop, And with each time these kids created these musical forms, they also created what's called slang language, or a symbolic language that went along with the music. And they also created kind of like a dress style that went along with the music. So again, it's these young folks being creative. So they go from like 20 a few years, like 40 years after or 20 years after the invention of bebop. These other musicians come along, these young folks again, and they start doing like this sophisticated rhythm and blues. But they call sophisticated rhythm and blues, the white man said, now I'm going to define it for what I want to call it. So he called it rock and roll. So white kids playing black music were rock and roll. And that became the major name. But the music was basically invented by young black folks and their genius. And it was young white folks singing like black kids now. Like the black kids who created urban music, standing on the street corners singing harmony. Then the young white boys began to try to sing in harmony like the black kids and stuff. See, after that era, the rock and roll era and all, the next young black folks came along as we were coming out of the quote-unquote the civil rights struggle, created what is called soul. See, this new form of soul music that lasted, and then we hip-hop, if we jump from there all the way up to the late 1970s and early 1980s, these urban kids, especially up in the Bronx and New York and other places, began to create now what we call, like hip-hop. Complete with its own lifestyle, its own dress style, its own slang language and everything. See? So I see, as I analyze the behavior of our young folk over the time period, I'm looking at a reoccurrence of the creativity, the natural creativity of black folks who don't go to school and take classes to learn how to do that. It's something that's almost innate in how we do things. and hey, believe it or not, uh, this can be tested because I guarantee you, before 2025, it's going to be another new title in terms of how music is being defined and what kids are doing with it. And I know who's going to be in the forefront of the new change that's coming. Hey, it's going to be our kids because that's what they do. So as we understand that, and by creating medium like Sinetta TV, Baba TV, and what have you, as you begin to record these things, see, I see the business structure expanding. See, our kids don't have to be famous on, just on TV. There are a lot of, right now, there are a lot of artists who are as good, excuse me, who are as good as every artist that's out there recording and have something being played on the radio or being spun on the video channels and what have you, whose stuff is not being played. They haven't made the contact. See, no big white corporation has figured out a way to exploit them yet, but they are just as talented. And then, and again, finding a mechanism like Baba TV, again, in one of the sub channels that's exposing natural young black talent. Hey, that's hey, I see that down the road. So again, the brother has done a good thing. I guarantee you within the next 5 years, because of his success, you're going to find other people imitating him. I also would venture to say that
they already doing it. You're already doing it.
You're gonna find some haters, that's out there that's talking negative, no matter they ain't got nothing positive to say. It's all negative about what he's doing. All of those things, that comes with the territory. That's that. So, but again, for the generation, again, those that are, who've known this brother since he was a vendor, on 125th Street. For those who know him from the early days, to see him create a business and become successful, to see him create a new thing in our culture and watch it blow up is very important, because what he has done and how he has done it is a textbook for other young folk to read and study so that they can do something similar.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And if just on talking about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, back to that mighty sister. I remember when I first purchased that book in Rafu's store back probably when I was in my early 20s. The one thing that caught me is when the sister spoke about the games. She talked about the like you were saying, the balls and the football and the football going through the big white net, and that symbolized the open legs of the white woman. And remember how Dr. Collett used to apply her teaching and mostly all of his lectures, the way he used to apply her teachings. She was well respected in a lot of different circles. That reading material is absolutely imperative that our young people get their hands. Everybody should have that book. Every black family should have that book in their household. ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. It helped me a lot. I know me myself in my psych when I was going through a whole lot of identity issues back then, 20 and 25 years ago. It helped me a lot. That book gave me some defense mechanisms, and I said, oh, I got something. Now I can beat these damn crackers down with it. Couldn't wait to go beat me a cracker up. But who the people, but back then as now, who the people who were in my way about it? It was religious minded, integrationist minded black folks, Brother Tehuti, who, whether they were in Islam, they said that they get along with everybody. Had a brother come on Sinetta TV the other night. They said he's a Muslim and he get along with everybody. Mad because Sinetta is race first and pro-black, and it amazes me and amazes me how our people will do what they will do and the lengths that they will go to defend white people. He told Brother Sinetta, well, you got somebody in your group who look white just like the white folks, and that's Baba. Now, what kind of teaching is that benefiting? It's not benefiting the black community. That it seems like to me, Brother Tehuti, that teaching is only benefiting white people. And regardless of how you see Baba, that white man and woman knows who's who. They know it's two kinds of people on the earth, she taught me. White and non-white. It's only two kinds of people. And if you would sit up there and try to defend white folks to such an extent that you would condemn me, what are you, a damn defense lawyer for white folks? Elaborate a little bit on that, Brother Tehuti.
Well, the poor person can't help himself, like again, and yet it's a noble thing that he is trying to project. In order for the earthlings, all of us humans living on this planet, to really understand who we are and what have you, I mean, it would really take an invasion by some beings from somewhere else, and then all that want to get rid of all the earthlings so they can take over the planet. It would almost take something that extreme for the earth people to unite together to understand that they have a common enemy and they better get rid of this thing that's trying to wipe everybody out. See, and since that condition doesn't exist, again, unless the alien is walking among us and we, hiding right out the plain sight, and we refuse to call him what he is because we think that he's one of us. But everything he's doing is disruptive for all of us. It ain't but one kind of being on this planet, right, that is trying to control everything. That really doesn't look at all the other beings as his actual brother. It's only one kind, and he's suffering from this illness that, again, going back to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, identified very clearly. And I agree with you, everybody needs to have a book. And even if you read it and don't quite understand it the first time, keep the book. Mm-hmm. As you learn more and get more experience and more knowledge, you can go back and read a chapter, and then you'll understand that a lot better. And you will grow from it. The book is great. She was a great person. But the fact that, they are, look, I remember back in the day, I used to talk about people always talked about America as a melting pot. And, and the goal of every American should be to melt it. It is melting pot. And back then I talked about actually I don't see that. What America is, it's like a tossed salad. It's got the dominant culture like lettuce is the dominant vegetable in a tossed salad. And then it's got tomatoes and it's got olives and it's got, a lot of other stuff in it that makes it a salad. And that's what America actually is. It's a conglomeration of a lot of cultures, a lot of people living on this continent, under the banner of being one country as such. The problem is that a lot of people have kind of acquiesced and knows that that one of these cultures, not only is it dominant, but it is vicious. I mean, what it did to Africans and bringing them here and putting them into slavery was vicious behavior. What they did in wiping out as many Native Americans as they could and confining them to those little small reservations is vicious. And the impact and because of that, the peoples are still suffering from that behavior. So if, like people want to live a life, what I call, if I don't call you on your bullshit, you don't call me on mine, then you'll end up with a brother who will come up and tell you, well, I'm a Muslim and I love everybody. I'm not like those vicious ones over there. But Islam means peace. And as long as you bow down and you believe in the divine, and you want to be peaceful about it, I'm your brother. Well, that's idealistic. See, that's not how it's being practiced. Again, it's a person living in denial about his real state of mind, and is trying to project the ideal type of mindset that if Islam is to be the religion held up and respected for what it says its best parts are, that's what he has to say. But you hear damn brother come up with that. That's a Christian to tell you the same thing. Those brothers who go to church every Sunday, and what have you, they'll come out and y'all know, hey, and I love everybody, hey. But the only way that you're going to be saved, of course, you got to believe in Jesus, like I did. But then, try to put the best foot forward. But again, one of the most vicious religions that has existed the last 2,000 years in terms of the number of people that its proponents murdered is Christianity. And despite everybody that these white Christians murdered, black folks who adopted their religion, all right, would give them a pass on that. I will try to give you an excuse, or that don't matter now. See? So if you have absorbed any of the philosophies that's foreign to the substance of who you are, where you came from, and who you actually are, then again you're suffering from inferiority complex in the first place, because you haven't done the first thing. Hey, you don't understand, so you don't even know who God is. The knowledge of God is the beginning of wisdom. You got to know who or what God actually is, and you can't possibly know that if you don't know yourself. What's carved over the temple walls, back in the ancient days, it starts there. If you don't know yourself, you don't know God. And if you don't know God, you're not wise. Hey, everything else is made up stuff. And because the teaching from ancient world have been reorganized and put out in a way that is, at best, it gets you into the state of just joining something, but it doesn't teach you anything. Then you are a victim of the religion, as opposed to having been enlightened by the religion. See? Most of the time, say like 99.9% of the Christians I talk to, they'll tell me what they believe in and can't explain to me what they know about their beliefs. So when some say it's what I call the mental training, the mindset. How do you train a mind? If somebody can convince you, if you are an intelligent human being, if somebody can convince you that what you believe is more important than what you know, then you're just a fool plugged into the matrix.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You turn out the world backwards like it was when you first came here. Because you don't really know yourself. You don't know God. If somebody can say, like, the knowledge of God is the beginning of wisdom, not the belief in it. See, and the word knowledge is to know. Knowledge is what you know, not what you believe. Okay?
And
if I want to control,
go ahead,
if
bro.
I want to control and keep you in a subordinate position, I will tell you that the most important thing you can do is believe.
And on that note, I think back to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, it is that condition I think that you just spoke of that brought her teaching into existence. And we want to end on her.
Well, again, thank you very much, Dave. You get the message out again. I hope that the younger, the older generation, those in their sunset years like me, those who are just being impacted by something and beginning to wake up, and young folk who have, by being sent to the site or by accident stumbled across it, all listen to the tributes for Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And as fast as they can, go out and buy a copy of the book. Like they should go to a black bookstore if they can find one. They can go online to African World Books and order it. There are a couple of others. Don't order it from Amazon or eBay. Use somebody in the community who has a store and is trying to provide you service. Keep black bookstores alive.
That's brother African World Books is brother Nati out of Baltimore, correct?
That's in Baltimore, yeah. African World Books spelled with a K, or it's called Everyone's Place. Is his retail outlet, and I think you can find Everyone's Place. Just Google it, or African World Books, or just Google it. It'll come up involved. You can order this, from an African entrepreneur that has done a great job over the last 35 years that I've known him with this business, making sure that the knowledge of and about our people stays alive in print and available in bookstores all across this country. So get her book. And the last thing, again, is for your viewing pleasure, several of her lectures are on YouTube. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And I just want to add a little piece that Brother Sarnetta interviewed Anthony Browder earlier today, and her memorial is going to be at Howard University Saturday, January 23rd, at Howard University. Her memorial is going to be held at Howard University. Again, that's Saturday, January 23rd.
All right, great.
All right, brother. Thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate that, and I will see you very soon, sir.
Okay, good, man. Have safe passage on the highways coming down here. Like the winter months have set in, so it might be some snow and ice out there. So drive safely, and I look forward to seeing both you and Sarnetta while you're in town for this occasion.
Yes, sir. Peace. Hotep. Black Power.